For Lesson 10, we are going to apply the distributive property as a strategy to find the total area of a large rectangle by adding the two parts. So remember that the distributive property means that we can break apart into smaller pieces so that it's easier to work with, and it's numbers that are easier to multiply. Look at number 1 on your problem set. It says label the side lengths of the shaded and unshaded rectangles when needed. Then find the total area of the large rectangle by adding the areas of the two smaller rectangles. So if I look at letter A, I see that there's a shaded part which has 5 as the width and 7 as the length. I see an unshaded part which still has 7 as the length, but 3 as the width. Altogether, the whole width is going to be 8 units. So that's where the 8 comes. So really, I am multiplying 8 times 7, length times width, to get the area. But I can break it down 8 times 8 into 5 plus 3, then multiply it by 7. So I'm going to break apart each of the shaded and the unshaded, and I'm going to multiply it by 7. So let's multiply 5 times 7. Since I'm multiplying by 7s, let's write our 7s down so that we know what they are. Okay, so now what is 5 times 7? That is going to be 35. What is 3 times 7? That is 21. So we have 35 that is in the shaded part and 21 in the unshaded part. So now what we're going to have to do is take 35 and add 21. So 5 plus 1 is 6 and 3 plus 2 is 5. So the area is 56 square units. Now, if I were to do 8 times 7 without breaking it apart, I would still get 56. Let's take a look at letter B. I look at the shaded part, and I see that it has a length of 4, but I'm not sure what that width is. So let's count the squares to figure it out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 units. Then I look at the unshaded part and I see that there is a width of 2. Altogether, when I combine these, I will get a total width of 12. And that's where the 12 is coming from. So really, if I take a look at the rectangle as a whole, I'm multiplying 12 by 4 times 4. But I can break apart 12 into 10 plus 2, and then multiply it by 4. So now I'm going to I'm going to take a look at the shaded part. So I have 10 is my width and 4 is the length. So 10 times 4 is equal to 40. Then I would take a look at the unshaded part, which would be 2 times 4. And that you see they gave us, which we know is 8. So now what I need to do is I need to add the shaded part, which we got a 40, and then the unshaded part, which is 8. So 40 plus 8 is equal to 48. Let's take a look at letter C. I have a width of 6, but I am not sure what the shaded part is as the length. Count the tiles at the top to figure out the length of the shaded part. Pause the video while you work and replay when you're ready or if you get stuck. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There is 10 for the shaded part. Now let's take a look at the unshaded part. How many squares do you see that will represent the width? Or the length? There are 3. So when I combine 10 and 3 together, I get 13. My marker's not working here. Sorry about that, guys. So that's where the 13 comes from in our equation. So I can break apart 13 into 10 and 3 and still multiply it by 6. So first I'm going to do each of those parts. So the shaded part, which would be 6 times 10, which would be 60. The unshaded part is represented by the 6 times 3. So what is 6 times 3? Write your sixes down to solve if you're unsure. So 6, 12, 18. So now what do we need to do with these two numbers? We need to add them. Go ahead and add 60 plus 18. Pause the video while you work and replay when you are ready or if you need help. So 0 plus 8 is 8, 6 plus 1 is 7. So the total area of the entire square is 78 square units. Now let's take a look at letter D. I notice that I don't have anything on the sides of my rectangle. So let's take a look at the shaded part. Count the squares of the shaded part to figure out the width. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 that represents the width. Now, count the shaded part at the top to figure out the length. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10. Now when I take a look at the unshaded part, I see that there are 2 units. When I put 10 and 2 together, I get a total of 12 units altogether. So that is where the 12 is coming from in the first part. So I can break it down into 10 and 2. Now I'm going to multiply each part in order to figure out the entire thing. So 8 times 10 is 80. That represents the shaded part. The unshaded part is represented by 8 times 2. So what is 8 times 2? Well, if I count by 8s 2 times, I get a total of 16. So now I need to add 80 plus 16 in order to figure out the square units. So 6 plus 0 is 6, 8 plus 1 is 9. So my total area is 96 square units. Your assignment is to work on the homework sheet number 1. When you are finished, check your work with the answer key at the front of the room. Next, make sure you grab an exit ticket. Make sure your name is on it. If you finish, put it in the turn-in tray. If you don't finish, it is going to be homework for tonight. Remember that your homework sheet and problem set can go in your take-home folder. See you next time.